Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is June 25th, 2025, and Barcelona have confirmed the return to the Spotify Camp Nou. Also, Athletic Club de Bilbao are trying to block Nico Williams' move to Barcelona. And finally, I'm going to tell you who Deco's chosen number 9 to replace Lewandowski. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only do we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting the discussion going. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description, chapters in the timeline, in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to go Kids, Get Back Fanatics. If you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, get us to some pretty cool deals and offers. Now, I do have another announcement. Some of you might know this, but if you don't, every Saturday there is a weekly podcast exclusive to channel members, where channel members get to dictate the topics that we discuss on the podcast, which could be everything, anything. It doesn't have to be Barca. It could be any other team, sports, whatever. Again, exclusive for channel members, but there's more. There's more because I'm currently working on establishing a Discord server, which will also be accessible to channel members. I will be publishing the details pretty soon on the community tab or the post tab of YouTube. So stay tuned, because not only will members get that exclusive daily, weekly podcast on Saturdays, but they will also get access to a Discord server where you can talk on it 24/7, whatever you guys want, kind of like the podcast, but every day instead of just one day a week. So if you want to become a channel member, make sure you head to the home tab on the YouTube channel and hit join. And that's it. That's all you got to do. Anyways, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first segment of this podcast consists of multiple bits of news. It's starting with the great news that Barcelona have confirmed. Well, something I've told you a million times, so I guess it's not really news, or it's not new news, but it is now official. This is not just me telling you this. This is Barcelona as an institution telling you this, and that is that the team will be returning to the Spotify Camp Nou on August 10th, 2025, which, of course, is the Joan Gamper match. That's usually the final match of the preseason. If you didn't know by now, I'm sure you guys do. But usually the last match of the preseason is the Joan Gamper Trophy. It's a friendly match where Barcelona invite another team to come. They have a friendly match. The winner gets the Joan Gamper Trophy. And then, of course, that signals the end of the preseason. And then usually a week later, that's when regular season begins. Now, this summer, the Joan Gamper Trophy match will take place on August 10th and will be against Cesc Fabregas' Como, who have had a pretty cool rise under Cesc Fabregas. They were, I think, in third division like a few seasons ago, moved second. Now they're in the Serie A. They finished 10th. This is their first season back in the Serie A after a very long time. They finished 10th under Cesc Fabregas, and they will be the team that will be playing against Hansi Flick's Barca. And again, what will be the final match of the preseason, and it will be played at the Spotify Camp Nou. This has been officially confirmed by the club. The club confirmed it with a video that they posted on their social media accounts. I will show it to you, but I would be flagged for copyright. So if you want to see it, go to Barca's Instagram, Twitter, website, whatever. The video is on there. Again, confirms Barcelona's return to the Camp Nou. So that's it. After 2 years of playing at the Luis Companys Stadium, Barcelona are officially back in our home stadium, in our fortress, in one of the most historical and iconic stadiums in the entire world, the Camp Nou, now named or renamed the Spotify Camp Nou because, of course, the partnership with Spotify. Now, originally, it was anticipated that Barcelona would only host 25,000 people for the Joan Gamper Trophy. They wanted to treat it kind of like a test run because remember, once the season begins and the team starts playing all the matches at the Camp Nou, there's still going to be construction because the stadium is not fully done. Only the first 2 rings are done. The third ring is still being built. And of course, that presents challenges because people are going to be coming in and out of the stadium while there's machinery, construction material, trucks, etc., etc. So the Joan Gamper Trophy set to be a test run where the people from the construction company will be watching the flow of crowds, how they get in and out of the stadium. That way, on match days, they know where to place the trucks, the machinery, everything in order to make space for the crowds to move throughout the stadium safely. And no one, has a crane land on their head or something like that. But now there's talks about maybe Barcelona could do 60,000 people instead of the original 25 because there has been advances in the construction where the 2 rings, remember, the first 2 rings are going to be the rings they're going to reopen first. Initially, it wasn't expected that the 2 rings will be ready by August 10th, but now they're expecting both rings to be ready, and both rings can host up to 60,000 people. So we could see 60,000 people being allowed for the Joan Gamper Trophy, and whether they are or not, when the stadium reopens during the regular season, it will be 60,000 because, again, the first 2 rings will be or should be ready by the time the season officially begins. And, of course, the third ring will continue to be built, and that is not expected to be done until the summer of 2026. So, August 10th, 2025, mark your calendars. Barcelona will be back at the Camp Nou for the Joan Gamper Trophy. The first 3 matches of the season will be away matches because Barcelona requested that from La Liga. La Liga approved it. That way, it gives the club more time to get the stadium ready for the regular season. Then we have the FIFA international break. And after that, Barcelona will start playing official season matches at the Camp Nou while the construction continues. So definitely great news. Again, official confirmation of what we already knew for many, many, many weeks here on the channel. So if you want to know more news like that, make sure you subscribe because there's always news coming out of the club, and I'm always here to cover it. Now, more news, because speaking of returns, we have to talk about Marc Bernal because, ladies and gentlemen, Marc Bernal, someone who Hansi Flick believes will be the future defensive midfield, the future pivot of the team, has officially cut his vacation short. As you know, the players have a vacation until July 13th, which is the beginning of the preseason. That's the first day where the players will return from vacation and report to their medical exams. Well, Marc Bernal has said, screw that. I don't want more vacation. I want to be ready for the next season. He has cut his vacation short. He has come back to Barcelona, and he has communicated to the club that he will be starting his training at the Barcelona facilities starting July 1st. So almost 2 weeks before his scheduled return, or 2 weeks before the team is supposed to return, Marc Bernal will begin his training at the Ciudad Esportiva because, again, he wants to finish his recovery from that ACL tear. It's expected that Barcelona's doctors will give him the green light to play at the beginning of August. So Marc Bernal will be available for next season. But, of course, like any serious injury like this, it's going to take him some time. So don't expect that Marc Bernal will start the first match of La Liga and he's going to be, Busquets level in his prime. It's going to take him some time. So definitely patient, but I'm sure eventually Bernal will become our Busquets, just not right away because as you saw with Gabi, with many other players who've had these kind of injuries, it takes time to get back to full form once you return from being a year on the sidelines. Now, the last bit of news is that Barcelona are officially the team whose value has increased the most in all of Europe. Now, I will make this bigger. I know this table is a little bit small, but hope you could see that. But this is the list of the teams whose value has increased the most. As you can see, Barcelona is at the top, where the team's value has increased by 190 million euros for a total of 1,070 million euros, or 1,070 million euros. And number 2 is PSG, whose team value went up by 176 million euros. Then we have Sporting CP, Eintracht, Como, Mainz, Lille, Galatasaray, Chelsea, and finally in number 10 is Genk. But Barcelona, who are the team whose value has gone up the most. And of course, this is thanks to the amazing season that Barcelona had under Hansi Flick. And it's also thanks to the amazing players that Barcelona have. For example, Lamine Yamal, the most valuable player in the world right now at 200 million euros. His value increased by 110 over the span of 18 months. That's insane. Rafinha, his value went up from 50 to 90 million euros. Ferran Torres, who would have thought? His value went up from 30 to 40. Pedri, his value went up from 80 to 140 million euros, a 60 million euro increase, which, by the way, I still think he's undervalued because, remember, Jude Bellingham, 180 mil. You're telling me that Jude Bellingham is a more or a better player than Pedri? Absolutely not. Pau Cubarsí, his value went up from 50 to 80 million euros. And even Gerard Martin, whose value was 400,000 euros, 400,000, has gone up to 12 million euros. Absolutely amazing. Again, it's thanks to the fact that Barcelona had an incredible season, and it's thanks that we have so many young, promising players whose value continues to rise because, well, they are absolutely amazing. All right, let's do the comment section, and then we are going to talk about another exit, another transfer that happened, a transfer that we were expecting to happen, but it happened a lot sooner than we thought. I'll tell you who it is in a few moments, so stay tuned. Let's see. Marc says, Mo, why is Deco choosing who to buy and sell? Shouldn't Flick be doing this? Managers should have this power. Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. A, that's not a manager's job. A team's manager's job is to manage the players he has, not to buy and sign players. The job of whose job is to buy or sign and transfer players is the sporting director, right? So asking why is Deco selling and buying players is like asking why is Lewandowski scoring goals? Why is the referee blowing the whistle? That's literally his job. But I'll tell you why it shouldn't be the manager's job. And I think I explained this before, but I'll explain it again. I think obviously the manager should have an input. Flick should be able to, tell Deco, hey, this is what I need. This is what I don't need. This player sucks. I don't need him. But at the end of the day, it should be fully the responsibility of the sporting director, which it is. Because at the end of the day, the sporting director has to build a team for the future, for a long period of time. And as we know, managers don't stick around for too long, unless, Sir Alex Ferguson. Most managers end up being at a club 2 to 3 years. So let's say you give the manager full control. He decides every single signing, transfer, and he builds a team tailored to himself. And then 2-3 years later, he leaves. What do? Now you're stuck with a team tailored and built for a manager that's no longer there. What do? Do you hire a new manager and then start from scratch, fire everybody, and then start building a whole new squad? No, right? So you want to build a team that's tailored for the club, not for the manager. And you want to build a team for a long period of time, not for 2-3 years, which is usually how long managers stick around. So no, it shouldn't be the manager's responsibility. The manager should have an input, but it shouldn't be their responsibility. And why is Deco doing this? Is because it literally is his job. That's the job of a sporting director, to buy and sell players. Abduli says, it seems like we are a dangerous force, so they're afraid. That's why they want to stop us. They know that we're not what we used to be. If you're talking about Athletic Club Bilbao, I'll talk about it in a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of myself. And Javan says, don't you think Barca should go for Gyökeres? He's very much affordable. He's not affordable. Gyökeres they're going to want at least 75 million euros, and it's not something we can afford right now. Also, it's time for everyone to make their peace. Gyökeres is not coming to Barcelona. I can't stress that enough. Kind of like when people were like, Haaland. And for years, I kept saying, Haaland is not coming. Like, stop it. Just let it go. It looks like people have moved on. So now it's time to move on from Gyökeres. Gyökeres is going to the Premier. He's not coming to Barca. Plus, we can't afford 75 million euros for Jokic. Minimum, by the way. It might end up being even more. Raul says, I don't think we're going for Ekitike. His name just popped up on the radar. Remember, everything can change. Nico's situation should tell you that. Deco wants Isaac and Laporta wants Haaland. I'll talk about Ekitike in a little bit. Super Eye says, hey, Mo, small club Bilbao are trying to stop something. They can't acting like we take their money and robbing them. Yeah, I'll talk about that as well. And Dorian says, hey, Mo, one question. Have you seen those Madrid fans like Football Carnage and the Stream Dave say that Nico Williams is trash and all that has his pace? It shows how scared they are of us. Yeah, I mean, he was key in winning the Euro. So if that's trash, then I'll take it any day. I'll take trash any day. Anyways, let's get back to the news because we do have another exit. Another player that has officially left Barcelona. A player that I told you Barcelona were looking to offload, but it happened really quickly. We didn't even get to hear that there was any talks or negotiations going on. It just happened right away. But it did happen with a club that I told you was interested in this player to begin with. And, well, this player is no other than Noah Darvic, the 18-year-old German midfielder that Barcelona signed back in 2023 from SC Freiburg. There was a lot of hype around this player, a lot of high expectations. You know, we thought he could be the next Pedri, the next big thing to come out from Germany for the midfield. But unfortunately, after spending 2 seasons at the club, at Juvenila, or under-19 youth team, and also the Barca Athletic, he never really lived up to his full potential, which kind of left coaches and the academy a little bit puzzled because every time Noah Darvic would go back and play with the German national team, the under-17, the under-19, he would always kill it. And Barcelona would be like, okay, this is why we signed you, because he did amazing in the World Cup, in the under-17 World Cup. And every time you play with Germany, you do just as amazing. But then he would come to Barca and nothing. So it left the coaches puzzled, but after 2 seasons, well, at first they thought it was maybe adaptation, but 2 seasons later, the player still has not lived up to his full potential. So Barcelona started considering offloading him. And I told you there were a couple of clubs interested in him, including Stuttgart. And well, lo and behold, Stuttgart have officially signed Noah Darvic on a permanent transfer. They have not revealed how much they've paid for him. But some reports are saying something south of 2 million, less than 2 million euros, which of course is less than what Barcelona paid for Noah Darvic. Barcelona signed him for 2.5. And they're saying that Barcelona now offloaded him for a little less than 2, which of course is not a big loss. It's a very, very tiny loss. And this is why I always say signing young, promising players for low amounts is the kind of bets and gambles that Barcelona should be doing. Because if they work out like Pedri, 10 million euros, now he's the best midfielder in the world, you hit the jackpot. But if they don't work out like Noah Darvic, oh, you're paying 2.5 and you sold them for 2, who cares? You lost 500,000 euros. No big deal. Much better than spending 140 on Dembele or 130 on Coutinho or 120 on Griezmann. And now you're out 500-600 million euros on 3 players that flopped, right? I would much rather lose 400,000, 500,000 than lose 500 million, right? So it has not worked out, but Noah Darvic has now left the club. He has joined Stuttgart. It's expected that he will undergo medical exams this week. And it's reported also that Barcelona have not retained any kind of buyback clause, and have also have not been able to retain any percentages of future sales. So this is it. Done deal. Player goes to Stuttgart. Barcelona get a little less than 2 million, and done. Chapter closed. Noah Darvic goes back to Germany, and Barcelona, well, I guess they make some kind of money, a little bit. 2 million. It's still 2 million, given the club's finances, given the club's financial fair play. Any euro counts. Every euro counts. So 2 mil, hey, I'll take it any day of the week. All right, let's get back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about the whole Nico Williams debacle, because Athletic Club Bilbao are trying to block the move. Dorian says, hey, Mo, one question. Oh, wait, this is the last one I read. Okay, here we go. Dr. Bardwaj says, hi, Mo, love from India. What do you think about Christensen versus Araujo? Who should stay? Should we consider selling Gabi and bringing more attacking power? There are so many midfielders. Absolutely not. I would never sell Gabi. What Gabi gives you, very few players do. Probably Fermin Lopez, and that's about it. But no, I would never sell Gabi, or at least not now, right? I don't know. Future can hold many, many different things, right? A few years back, I would have told you I would never sell Ansu Fati. That's insane. But of course, we all saw what happened. But right now, no, I would not sell Gabi. As far as Christensen versus Araujo, I mean, Christensen seemed to fit the Flick system a little better, or much better, I should say, not a little better. So it would make sense for him to stay, tactically speaking. But when you look at all the other factors, I could see why Deco would prefer Araujo. I mean, besides the fact that Araujo already renewed versus Christensen only has a year left on his contract. So, of course, you want to get rid of the guy who only has a year left on his contract, not the guy who just renewed until 2031 for 6 more years. Also, Christensen, 29 years old. Araujo, 25, I think. Yeah. So, again, it makes more sense to get rid of the older guy who's exiting his prime versus Araujo, who is entering his prime. Also, skill-wise, talent-wise, objectively speaking, Araujo is above Christensen. Now, when it comes to Barca, Christensen is above Araujo, right? Because Christensen seemed to fit the system a lot better, because people always conflate the two and they always confuse the two, skill versus fit. Completely two different things. You could be the best in the world and still not fit a team. You know, Messi wouldn't have done as well with, I don't know, Atletico Madrid as he did with Barca. That mean Messi sucked or whatever? No, of course not. Right? So you could be the best and still not fit a certain team or a certain philosophy. So that doesn't mean that that player is trash or garbage like people try to make out Araujo to be. Now, I do understand why people are upset. He has cost us some very expensive mistakes. But nonetheless, he is still one of the best center backs in Europe. And I think, objectively speaking, in grand scheme of things, I think Araujo is much more talented than Christensen. But when it comes to Flick system, Christensen seemed to fit a little better. But again, when you look at all the other factors, the age, how much years left on a contract, the fact that Araujo is, objectively speaking, better, the fact that Christensen is injury prone, once you take all that into consideration, it could see why it would make more sense to keep Araujo than to keep Christensen. So I would prefer to keep Christensen, but I'm not mad about the decision either. I mean, we're not losing Pau Cubarsí, right? He's a good center back, but it's not like, oh my God, end of the world. What is Barcelona doing? They just offloaded Lamine Yamal. You know what I mean? Amir says, oh, wow, finally got you live. I really appreciate your work. I live in Hartford, Connecticut. Oh, you're pretty close. Hoping to meet you in person at some match at New York Peña match viewings. Well, thank you, my friend, for joining. And yes, I do go not too often, but I try to go often to Smithfield Hall in New York City to watch the matches. So if you're ever there, I'm definitely there always for the El Clasico matches. So if you're ever there, let me know. Shoot me a message through the Instagram channel. And I would love to meet you. Maybe we can have a beer, watch the match together. Adrian says, hi, Mo, enjoying the news. Don't you think Matt will give our club pressure even after being communicated by Flick as reported watching live from Zambia? Could be. Of course, we won't know until it actually happens. I think Marc will end up leaving. I think at the end of the day, he's going to end up leaving. It's going to be a matter of how much it will cost Barcelona, right? Because he has a contract until 2028. He agreed to lower his salary when he renewed his contract to help the club out. Barcelona owe him money because he also agreed to defer his salary back in COVID time. And if Barcelona want to rescind his contract, then it's like you're going to owe him money from the rescission. You're going to owe him money from what we already owe him. It's going to be costly. It's going to be very expensive. It's just a matter how much, right? How much is it going to cost us? And this is why I said it would have been a lot better that the club spoke to Ter Stegen, which for some reason people think that's like such a crazy concept that you talk to a player. It's like literally every day. Hey, Barcelona told Ansu Fati they don't count on him. Cool. Barcelona told Pau Victor they don't count on him. Cool. Barcelona told Lenglet they don't count on him. Cool. Barcelona should tell Ter Stegen they don't count on him. What? Mo, you're in love with Ter Stegen? You're obsessed? Oh my God. And people lose their shit. It's like, what do you mean? That's literally standard procedure. When you don't count on someone, you meet with them and you tell them, hey, I don't count on you. But when it comes to Ter Stegen, people lose their shit. It's like all of a sudden I'm like mentioning this crazy concept that no one has ever heard of. And it's like, but anyways, the point is, had Barcelona handled this better, had Ter Stegen found out from the club that they don't count on him versus from the media, it could have been a lot easier to deal with, right? Because a player is going to be a lot more receptive if you treat him with respect versus what happened, right? Where he had to find out from the media that all of a sudden they're firing him or they're trying to push him out. Because here's the thing. Ter Stegen, the club had met with Ter Stegen and they had told him, you are our guy. You are our number one goalkeeper. When he got injured, they said, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Take your time. We're going to bring in Szczesny, and he's only going to be here for one season because you are our number one. So you change your mind. That's fine. Tell him, hey, sorry, I know we told you you're number one, but we've changed our mind. But don't tell him, hey, you are number one, and then he's chilling in Germany, having fun, and next thing the media is like, wait a minute, we heard you're getting pushed out. And he's like, no, I'm not. The club told me I'm the number one guy. What do you mean? This is what I mean. Had the club told him, been honest with him, been respectful with him, more likely that he could have been more receptive. Maybe not. But, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Remember that. And Shin, my man Shin, always supporting the channel. Thank you so much, my friend, for your generosity. It says, hey, bro, I don't like either the Fati deal nor the Darvic deal, paying 17 mil more to get Fati back. Should he sprout within a year and Monaco buy him? Sucks. And selling Darvic for a measly sum with no sell-on clause or anything upsets me too. I agree. I'm not bothered by how much Barcelona sold Darvic. Again, we don't have the exact figure, but they're saying it's a little less than 2 mil, which I get it. Barcelona signed him with 2.5. And at the time, Darvic was a hot commodity, right? He had just finished the Under-17 World Cup. Everybody was like, oh, Darvic is the next best thing, right? So he was hyped up. So it made sense. Now, 2 failed seasons at Barcelona, it would make sense that his value would depreciate because he didn't live up to all the hype that we all had of him when he was signed. So I'm not upset about how much Barcelona sold him for, but it does upset me that we didn't keep a percentage. I think that would have made sense. But maybe because, if his value, let's say, did go down to 1.5 and you sell him for 1.5, Frankfurt's probably, Stuttgart is probably like, why would we give you a percentage of anything? We're paying you what he's worth. Usually when you keep a percentage is when you agree to sell the player for less. Let's say the player is worth 5 mil and you sell him for 2 and you keep a percentage, hoping that his value would skyrocket, and then the percentage of that skyrocketed value would be more than the 3 mil that you forgave, right? That's usually how those deals done. So I could see why maybe Stuttgart would be like, no, we gave you what he's worth. F off, you're not getting a percentage. And as far as not having a buyback clause for Darvic, I get it. The midfield is stacked, so it's like, all right, you don't work out, we don't care. We still have plenty of midfielders on our first team. With the Ansu Fati deal, I think the buyback clause, such a high buyback clause, the 28 mil that Barcelona put in there, it could be a sign that Barcelona is just saying, we throw in the towel. Like, we don't really believe this guy's going to go back to what he was. So we don't care if the buyback is 28 or 100 mil or 1 bill, right? They're kind of like, eh. Plus, Barcelona are bringing in Nico on the left. We have Lamine on the right. We're even talking about like Rooney Bargi. He could potentially be the substitute for the 2. We have Rafinha, who's still a winger and can be a substitute for 2, or the starter, and Nico could be sub. We have options, right? So even if Ansu ends up killing it, like, we still don't need him technically because we're filling up those positions. But I don't know. That's my take. Anyways, speaking of Nico Williams, let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about the embarrassing disgusting, low behavior of this mediocre club, this nobody club, this crybaby club called Athletic Club de Bilbao, because they are trying to block the exit of Nico Williams. Now, as you know by now, Nico Williams reached out to Barcelona, told them, hey, I want to sign for you. He already reached an agreement with Barcelona to join on a 6-year contract. He already emptied his locker at Athletic Club de Bilbao. And he even communicated to Athletic Club de Bilbao yesterday, hey, I'm leaving, and I'm leaving to Barcelona. Now, this has apparently not sat well with Athletic Club de Bilbao because their president, John Uriarte, has traveled to Madrid. This is how pathetic this guy is. Has traveled to Madrid to ask La Liga and the Royal Spanish Football Federation to block the move of Nico Williams to Barcelona. Now, how is he asking for this? Uriarte is claiming that Barcelona are not under the 1-1 rule and as such should not be able to, under the rules, to sign Nico Williams, and he wants La Liga and the Royal Spanish Football Federation to audit all of Barcelona's financial operations. He wants both bodies to go into Barcelona's books, go page by page, and audit everything that Barcelona have done financially to see whether they are breaking any financial fair play rules. And Athletic Bilbao are claiming that now Barcelona, not only, if they want to sign Nico, should they pay the release clause of 62 mil, but they should also have to prove their compliance. So it's kind of like Barcelona goes, pays the release clause. They're like, that's not enough. Go prove your compliance. Then you can take the player. And as such, John Uriarte is asking La Liga and the Royal Spanish Football Federation to block this exit because he claims Barcelona cannot sign Nico because they're not under the 1-1 rule. Absolutely crazy. In all my years as a football fan, I've never heard of anything like this. This is absolutely ridiculous. Next level crybaby. This is the behavior of a little bitch. Straight up. This is the behavior of a little bitch who can't handle consequence or cannot handle disappointments. And to John Uriarte, I say, did your parents not teach you how to deal with life's obstacles, with life's challenges, with life's disappointments, that you go cry? You travel all the way to Madrid. This could have been done over the phone, by the way. To cry. This is like the kid who invites you to his house. You start playing a board game or PlayStation or whatever. He starts losing. So then he goes and brings his mom and says, hey, mom, I'm upset. I'm losing. This is literally the same thing. But the difference is that this is a grown-ass man who's going to La Liga and the Royal Spanish Football Federation to cry because he's upset that a player who is looking to join a bigger club and leave his mediocre club, and he's upset at that, which I don't understand why he would be upset at this. This is the nature of football. Players who are destined for great things always leave bottom and mid-table teams for bigger teams. Where do you think Vinicius Jr. came from when he joined Madrid? From another big club? No. Where do you think Mbappe and Bellingham, all these players, they all start at smaller clubs and then they become the next best thing. They become these huge stars. Naturally, they join bigger clubs, clubs that can afford them a more competitive season, where they can compete for everything, where they can win trophies. What did you think was going to happen? That Nico Williams was going to stay at Athletic Club de Bilbao his entire career and hope to win 1-2 trophies in 20 years because that's how often Athletic Club de Bilbao wins trophies? Or did you not expect Nico Williams to want to go to a club like Barca so he can compete for trophies and win trophies? Something that you, as a mediocre club, cannot give him. So don't be mad at Nico. Don't be mad at Barca. Be mad at yourself for having a mediocre club. You want players like Nico to stay? Well, build a more competitive team. Be a more competitive club. Compete for trophies. Otherwise, players like this are always going to look to leave. That's the nature of football. That's how Athletic Club signs. They go and sign from lower clubs. It's the circle of football. But for some reason, John Uriarte, the president of a football club, doesn't understand that that's how football works. So he's going now, crying to the Royal Spanish Football Federation, crying to La Liga to block it, saying that Barcelona are not under the 1-1 rule. And my question to him is, how is this your business? This is none of your business. If the release clause is 62 mil and Barcelona paid us 62 mils, it's none of your business where that money came from. Doesn't matter if Jean Laporta walks into a bank with a hoodie and a gun and robs the bank to pay it. That's none of your business. That's between Barcelona and La Liga. Not between Barcelona and you and La Liga. It's between Barca and La Liga. And well, if Laporta ends up robbing a bank, then obviously that's between him and the police. But this is none of your business. So my question to John Uriarte is, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Are you really surprised that a player like Nico was going now gonna want to go to a bigger club? Are you really surprised about that? I don't get it. I don't understand. That's been the case for over a century. But for some reason, this guy has never heard of promising players wanting to leave for bigger clubs. I mean, everybody does, not just the promising ones. Even the shitty ones, they too want to go. The difference is the shitty ones can't because nobody wants them. So, what are you doing, John Uriarte? You are embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing your club. And honestly, if I was an Athletic Club de Bilbao fan right now, I'll be pretty embarrassed. And I would be writing letters to this guy saying, what are you doing? You're making us all look like fools. Nico Williams wants to leave to a bigger club. Normal. Nobody's forcing it. Barcelona are not trying to kidnap him overnight, putting a hoodie on his head and throwing him in the van. He has a release clause that you agreed to and you negotiated with the player. And Barcelona are looking to pay that release clause. What's the problem? Oh, you don't like it? Too fucking bad. Should have negotiated a higher release clause. Shouldn't have been the president of a shitty club. Or just learn to deal with things. Can't go crying every time something that you don't like happens. That's not how life works. And I think his parents should have done better. Now, if he doesn't want to listen to me, of course, listen to the statements of one of the Athletic Club de Bilbao's legends, their former coach, Clemente, who's kind of like their Johan Cruyff, kind of like what Johan Cruyff is to us, to them. But he said the following, and remember, this is an Athletic Club de Bilbao legend. But he said, when players manage to play for Athletic, they can have other goals, such as progressing professionally. Duh. Who doesn't want to improve their status, their economy, and their recognition? Duh. I don't think Barcelona has acted differently from what the others do. Duh, including you, Athletic Club de Bilbao, who are always signing players from, well, inferior clubs in the Basque region. Negotiating with players who are under contract happens all the time. People only notice it when it becomes public. It is something that happens every year. So again, John Uriarte, why are you surprised? How is it that you didn't know this happened? You're the president of a football club. What the fuck is going on? But that's the news. I don't think that will go anywhere. Again, it's none of his business or Athletic Club de Bilbao's business. If Barcelona paid the release clause, there's not much they could do. And where that money came from, whether under the 1-1 rule, none of their business. That's between Barcelona and La Liga. And if La Liga approve it, La Liga approve it. Because remember, it's not about paying the release clause. It's about registering the player. That's what financial fair play controls. Anyways, pretty pathetic performance. And I think Athletic Club de Bilbao are now in a three-way race with Real Madrid and Osasuna on who is the biggest crybaby of 2024-2025 season. Real Madrid with all the refereeing crying because they can't handle that Barcelona was spanking them. Osasuna, remember the whole Iñigo Martinez thing? Crying. We lost, so please let us win on the books. And now this guy who's surprised that his best player wants to leave to a bigger club. Who would have thought? Anyway, so let's do the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Deco's chosen number 9 or center forward. Let's see. Obey says, Peace Barca, my friend. I'm so much happy for the great work you're doing. I'm happy for Nico's update, in which I always follow you live, but I don't really know the exact time. Well, thank you, my friend. The exact time, usually around 7 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's usually when I try to do it. It just depends on how busy I am at work. All right, let's see. Calvin says, hi, Mo, catching the live podcast from Zambia in a long time. Keep it up, my guy. Please, people, subscribe to the channel like it's free. Thank you, my friend. Yes, please hit the like button. Subscribe. It's free, and it really helps the channel grow. Let's see. SA says, I believe one of those two got to go on loan to Monaco. Bargi's, bro. Takes both. Send one loan. I don't think I understood what you were trying to say, but if you could clarify, that'd be amazing. Let's see. Christopher says, Araujo ain't exactly rock solid. He's been made of glass these last 4 seasons. True. And Solitude says, the number 9 situation is going to be interesting. I think next season, if Osimhen is available, I think we should go for him. To me, he is a proven striker and could do well with Lamine, Nico, and Rafa. Yeah, I mean, Osimhen just had an incredible season in Turkey. It's Galatasaray, right? Yeah, Galatasaray. We'll see where he ends up this summer. He definitely wants to leave Napoli, and I don't think he's going to stay at Galatasaray. I think Galatasaray, it was kind of like, let me go out there, show the world what I could do. Now we draw more interest. We'll see where he ends up, but I don't see him hanging around because, again, he doesn't want to stay at Napoli, and I don't think he's going to want to stay at Galatasaray either. So this summer, he's going to be making a move. And even if he stays at Galatasaray, right? He's on loan there, so he would have to sign. But either way, he doesn't want to stay at Napoli, so he's looking to move this summer. So I don't see how Barcelona could sign him next summer. Tweeza says, hi, Mo. It's been a while catching you live. Hope you're doing well. My question is, what would Rashford bring to the team in case where we sign him? Squad depth. You know, it's like Deco said. Right now, we only have Lamine and Rafinha. And if one of them needs to be rotated because he's tired or because he's sick or suspended or injured, and it's like we're out of wingers, right? So it doesn't hurt to have 2 more, Nico and Rashford. Also, Rashford brings experience. Rashford brings lots of skill. My only problem with Rashford is not as him as a player, but as him as a person, right? We've all seen how always fighting with his coaches, fighting with the leadership or the administration of Manchester United, the partying, all this. That's my problem with him. But as far as a player, he's a phenomenal player, very talented player who unfortunately lacked a little bit of discipline. But who knows? Maybe now at 29, he figured it out, or 28, and was like, all right, I need to get my act together. Hopefully that happens, because I would hate to see Rashford come to Barcelona and continue down the same pathway and then potentially distract other players in the locker room. Solid says, I don't trust Araujo. He got that bozo gene. He can play La Liga games, but he should not even be present when it's UCL's knockouts. He is a cursed player. He did make some mistakes, but let's not pretend like Araujo was not incredibly solid the last few seasons. People like to remember it's like you can do a thing 100 times right, and then you do it one time wrong, and everybody just remembers that one time. Let's see. Eli says, why would they try to block the move when Nico expressed his desire to join Barca? That is a great point, which I completely forgot to mention. Plus, think about what they are doing to the player. This is someone who grew up in the club, who came up through the academy, who's been playing at the first team. He's been there his whole life. His brother spent his whole career there. His parents work at the club. So this is Nico's boyhood club. It's the club that he loves. And probably, maybe he has plans to return to it one day once he's older and ready to retire. But by doing this, they're spitting in his face and saying, fuck you. You want to leave? You can't. We're going to do everything in our power to block it. What do you think they're doing to the player? What do you think they're burning the bridge? Because I'm pretty sure Nico is not liking this. Like, dude, I told you I want to leave. They're going to pay the release clause. It's not like they are, trying to nickel and dime you. And it's like, what's your problem? And seriously, like, what is their problem? Like, why would you do this to this kid who came up through your own academy? Like, you should have a little more respect for him. Plus, he agreed to stay another extra season this past season, which he didn't have to do that, right? That's one season too long for a player like Nico Williams. But anyways, absolutely pathetic behavior. All right, let's get back to the news. Let's do the last bit of news because it's been revealed who is Deco's number one option for the center forward position, and it's Hugo Ekitike. Hugo Ekitike, the 23-year-old French center forward that Eintracht Frankfurt signed from PSG. He currently has a contract with the Bundesliga club until 2029. And this past season alone, he scored 15 goals, provided 8 assists in 33 matches. Not bad at all. Those are pretty impressive numbers for a center forward playing for Eintracht, right? But Ekitike, of course, after this incredible season, has popped up on the radar of many teams, including Barcelona, who considered signing him, but then eventually decided to switch gears and focus on the left wing because Barcelona, given their financial situation, cannot make two big spendings this summer. It's only one or the other. And since Nico Williams is going to be the big spending that Barcelona will do this summer, then that means no Ekitike. So it was either Ekitike or Nico Williams, not the two, or not just Nico, anyone for the left wing. It was either left wing or the center forward, not both. And since Barcelona decided that the left wing really needed to be reinforced, since we still have Lewandowski that can play another season, but we didn't have anyone on the left, then Barcelona switched gears and abandoned the operation to go after Ekitike, and instead they decided to focus on the left wing. And now that big expenditure that could have gone to Ekitike will go to the signing of Nico Williams, because Deco and Flick both recognized that the left wing was a bigger priority than the center forward. So Barcelona decided to abandon this operation to try to sign Hugo Ekitike. Now, he is still Deco's number one option for the center forward position, which means that Barcelona could technically try to sign him again next season. Well, next summer, I should say. But what's the problem? His market value right now is 75 mil. His contract is until 2029. And as we know, Eintracht Frankfurt, well, they don't sell cheap. So if his market value is 75 and he has that many years on his contract, expect him to want an arm and a leg, which, of course, Barcelona cannot afford. Now, next summer, I'm sure we're going to be in a much better financial situation. But I don't know if that financial situation will be much better enough to be able to make such a big expenditure. We'll see. But just know that Deco's number one option for the center forward position is Hugo Ekitike, which Barcelona considered signing this summer, but they opted to make a big spending on the left wing instead. Because again, it was just about priority. We had two positions that needed to be spent on a lot. And Barcelona believed that the left wing was a bigger priority because, again, we do have Lewandowski in a center forward position. We didn't have anyone in the left wing. All right, that is all the news for this podcast. Let's do more comments, and then we'll end this. But Tunde says, hello, Mo. We shouldn't be surprised at the president of Athletic Club because he is just doubled down on statement of La Liga president, so we shouldn't be surprised if La Liga decide to do that. I mean, there's no decisions, right? It's not about activating the release clause. It's about registering the player. And as far as the release clause, if you pay it, you pay it. There's not much Athletic Club Bilbao can do, If they're mad that it's too low, they should have negotiated a higher one. I mean, they agreed to it. They signed the contract. There's nothing really they can be mad about. Ramsey says, is Barcelona going to be sponsored by Taylor Swift? No. Unless you mean like the logo, her logo replacing the Spotify logo for the El Clasico match. She was considered alongside Ed Sheeran and Travis Scott, and eventually Barcelona went with Travis Scott. Could she appear on the Barcelona jersey in the future for El Clasico match? Maybe, but we're not there yet. David says, Rashford is really trying to join Barca, so don't you think you can change? He can change because when I focus, he's a really dangerous player, can hit with both feet and everything. I mean, your desire to join a club, I don't think it's a signal of desire to change personally. That's just a signal of his footballistic desires, not necessarily personal desires. Because let's not forget, Joao Felix really wanted to come to Barca. In fact, he extended his contract with Atletico Madrid and agreed to reduce his salary to make the move happen. And he can come on loan. Where did that land us, right? So just because Rashford wants to come, that doesn't mean necessarily that he has changed, right? He could have changed. For all we know, he's now finally got his act together and fully focused on his career. But I don't think the two have anything to do with each other. Let's see. Anandu says, brother, please tell all players that link to Barcelona and also tell the players are most likely to sign for Barcelona. I mean, Nico Embargi and Joan Garcia. Rashford could be a possibility depending on how much financial fair play we have left. So right now, priority is to register Nico. Once we register Nico, activate his clause and then register him. Once we're done that, we'll see if Barcelona have more margin. Solitude says, Mo, problem is Liverpool is after Ekitike. I've watched him play, and I think he's a very good player. Would work really well with the players we got in attack. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's unfortunately the situation we're in, right? We don't have the money to be signing every player we want. So we have to prioritize, and that means players being signed by other clubs, right? Because other clubs don't have the problems we have. So unfortunately, that's just the reality. Marc says, Romario, Kluivert, R9, Suarez, Eto'o, Lewandowski. Who the fuck is Ekitike? But that guy in the bin, Barcelona used to have it, the best strikers. Get these pace merchants out of here. I mean, all those players, right? Suarez, Eto'o, Lewy, R9, they weren't born. And day one, they were great. They eventually got there. And at one point, it was kind of like, who are these people, right? With Lewandowski was in Poland, it was like, who was this guy, right? It's not until he joined Dortmund and people were like, oh, okay. We know who that guy is. Same with Suarez, right? Before Liverpool, it's like, who is this guy? So anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in, for your comments, your likes, your subscriptions. I think I will be posting another video. And if not, I might do a reaction video either to Bargi or Ekitike. I mean, I want to do both, but I'm not sure what order I'm going to do. So I think I'll be doing another video. But thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, Viscarsa.